Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around.
Liberals and conservatives don't just differ politically. According to scientific research, people on different ends of the political spectrum differ psychologically as well. So let's talk about it. My name is Mona Romenska, I'm certified life coach, and we are talking not about politics, but about psychology in politics. Liberals and conservatives exhibit different cognitive styles, and converging lines of evidence suggest that biology influences differences in political attitudes and beliefs. In particular, a recent study of young adults suggests that liberals and conservatives have significantly different brain structure, with liberal showing increased gray matter volume in anterior cingulate cortex and conservatives showing increased gray matter volume in amygdala, which is responsible for fear factor. The risk-taking behavior of liberals and conservatives didn't differ in research, but the brain activity did. Liberals showed significantly greater activity in the left insula, while conservatives showed significantly greater activity in the right amygdala. This result suggests that liberals and conservatives engage different cognitive processes when they think about risk, and they support recent evidence that conservatives show greater sensitivity to threatening stimuli. Decades of research have shown that people get more conservative when they feel threatened and afraid. Threats of terrorism made everyone less liberal. Researchers found this was especially true in the months of after 9/11. Americans displayed increased support for military spending and for President George Bush. Americans are not the only one whose political leaning are influenced by fear. In 2003, research conducted 5 countries looked at 22 separate tests of hypotheses that fear fuels conservative viewpoint and found that was universally true. Conservatives are more sensitive to threatening, anxious situations in perceptual and cognitive levels, experiencing emotional responses and stress, while liberals are more responsive but tolerant for ambiguous and uncertain information. It's one of the reasons why border security is so much important for conservatives. According to the study, Republicans favor qualities more related to reaching goals like being ambitious, hardworking, and determined. Democrats tend to favor traits that lead to social relationship, like being broad-minded, warm, and sociable. The next one, liberals are less squeamish about looking at yucky stuff like vomit, feces, and blood. The research showed that those with more socially conservative views were quicker to physically look away from disgusting images like pictures of blood, feces, or vomit than their liberal peers. The self-reported social conservatives also stared longer at photos of other people reacting in disgust to icky stuff. The research backs up the theory that suggested that conservatives are more easily grossed out than liberals. A gut reaction of disgust is, evolutionally speaking, a good thing for survival, since it helps humans keep some foreigner and potentially dangerous secretions at bay. But in a modern world, research suggests that this kind of aversion toward impure pathogens may also impact how people see other people who aren't like them, including social outgroups like immigrants or foreigners, or also explains why conservatives are not that supportive towards LGBTQ community. One more time, what is unknown, new, innovative, unfamiliar subconsciously for conservative is a potential threat or danger. Next difference, liberals tend to follow the wandering gaze of others more often, while conservatives' eyes stay more focused on the original subject they are looking at. In 2010, researchers of University of Nebraska tested whether conservatives and liberals physically see the world in different ways. They found that when it comes to matching the gaze of other people, the two groups differ. The scientists measured this by having individual study participants watch a certain point of a computer screen and wait for a ball to show up in the frame. Then they added distracting human face on the screen before the ball appeared. The face eyes would look around. The scientists watched the participants to see if they followed the wandering gaze. The researchers found that the liberal participants tended to follow the direction of the eyes on the screen. Conservatives, on the other hand, weren't as swayed by the pixeled peers and kept waiting for the ball. Now, who has more predilection for adultery? Democrats are less inclined to cheat on their spouses, according to researchers who matched voter records to accounts hacked from US website that specializes in affairs. Democrats use the Ashley Madison adultery website substantially less than Republicans or Libertarians, Greens, and unaffiliated voters. Libertarians consistently ranked as the site's most frequent clients. The results highlight an apparent paradox, where those with more conservative views and supposedly stricter attitudes towards sex seem happier to hop into bed with someone outside their relationship than more liberal types. The study doesn't shed light on why conservatives might be more likely to have affairs than liberals, but one author, Adler, has his theories. The first is that thanks to more restricted sex education and discussions, right-leaning people may be less well informed about sex and sexuality and so have poor sexual self-control. The second theory is that people who are more interested in taboo activities declare themselves Republicans and profess to have stricter attitudes to deflect suspicion. Besides everything else, conservatives and liberals dress up quite differently. When conservatives, from the word to be conservative, are more inclined for solid colors, plain looks, or it could be simple jeans and t-shirts. When liberals, on the other hand, prefer something that is not necessarily cohesive as a style, but has some uniqueness to it, or showing personality, like pink hair, like rainbow t-shirts, or clothes that represent who they are in terms of individuality, political identity, and pet preferences. Roughly 65 of Americans own a pet. It was the research on 2010, with the three most common animals being dogs, cats, and fish. Over 48 million homes have at least one dog, over 31 million homes have a cat, and over 1 million homes have at least one fish. There is some evidence that suggests political identity plays a role in whether people prefer cats or dogs. Conservatism, for example, is associated with dog ownership and greater preference for dogs over cats compared to liberalism. Also, conservatives prefer pure breed of dogs. Emotions. Hints of partisan differences in valuing emotions are long-standing. For decades, people of both political orientations have endorsed stereotypes of bleeding heart liberals and heartless conservatives. Currently, conservative websites spot memes and mocks expressing scorn for liberal emotions such as "facts don't care about your feelings" and "America runs on liberal tears." A few studies also suggest that liberals and conservatives may hold different beliefs about the functionality of emotion. Compared to conservatives, liberals are guided more by their current emotions when evaluating political policies. Traditional emotion was often portrayed as a dysfunctional reaction that derailed rational thinking and signaled weakness and vulnerability. Unemotional stoicism was idealized and sign of rationality and maturity, and it stays pretty much the same still for conservative and for liberals. Across studies, conservatives score higher than liberals on tests of dogmatic thinking and cognitive rigidity. To a lesser degree, conservatives also have high needs to order and structure. Liberals tend to have a high tolerance for uncertainty and greater need for cognition, which researchers measured with statements such as "I find satisfaction in deliberating hard and for long hours." Also, some dating sites have questions: would you rather date somebody who is complex or simple, where conservatives answer rather simple and liberals answer more complex, which again has an explanation because something complicated, which has layers, can be unknown, unfamiliar, and it means I fear it because I don't have control over it. Holding conservative views seem to make people more resistant to change and help them explain inequality. When both parties support equality, they understand it differently. Liberals believe in equality in sharing equally resources, and conservatives believe that equality is when everyone receives what he deserves. The more you give, the more you get back. Liberals and conservatives' taste in music and art are different as well. A research from 1980 showed that conservatives preferred more simple paintings, familiar music, and ambiguous text and poems, while liberals enjoyed more cubist and abstract art. Liberals are more likely to describe themselves as compassionate and optimistic, while conservatives are more likely to say they are people of patriotism and religion. In 1980s, study found that conservative students at that time were more likely to describe themselves as responsible, organized, successful, and ambitious, while liberal students might describe themselves as loving, tender, or mellow. Surveys suggest that today's adults aren't much different than those in 80s. The study from 2014 showed that liberals were more likely than social conservatives to describe themselves as compassionate, trusting, upbeat, and optimistic, while conservatives were more likely to say that they were people of honor, duty, religion, and proud to be Americans. In 2012, a self-report shows that top moral concerns tend to be about compassion and fairness for liberals, and while conservatives are more concerned with loyalty, tradition, respect for authority, and purity. Also fits to the model of understanding how much it's important for conservatives to have law and order and hierarchy, and for liberals is more of a freedom or decision of the groups. Also, conservative students are often better at focusing their attention on cognitive tasks. The common psychological study tool asks participants to quickly name the correct color of a word that's written on a different color background. In the study, conservative students seem to correctly answer the color questions faster than their liberal peers. The researchers think it happened because conservatives were more likely to believe in the concept of self-control. Liberals and conservatives extend feelings of compassion to different people. Conservatives tend to express compassion to smaller social circles than liberals. For example, conservative voters were found to be more likely to agree with statements like, "I often have a tender, concerned feelings to my family members who are less fortunate than me." But their responses suggested such feeling didn't extend to people from other countries. Liberals, on the other hand, were more likely to feel that the same level of compassion for people around the world, and even to non-human and imaginary subjects like animals and aliens. Conservatives self-report more parochialism is that they tend to extend their empathy toward more well-defined close social circles like the family, whereas liberals self-report more universalism, and they extend empathy towards people around the world and broader than their just social groups. Conservatives tend to display more ordered thinking patterns, where liberals have more aha moments. Conservatives have more structured and persistent cognitive styles, so they solve tasks step by step in structure, rather than liberals have these eureka moments of a sudden insight. Conservatives tend to report feeling greater meaning and sense of purpose in life than liberals. Research of Southern California conducted a study in 2018 hinging on the theory that conservatives tend to be more satisfied in their life than liberals. Their findings suggest that theory is true, at least according to self-report. Finding meaning in life is related to the sense of feeling that things are the way they should be, and that there is a sense of order, says study author David Newman. The study compiled data on thousands of people in 16 different countries around the world over 4 decades and found that conservatives overall reported feeling greater meaning and purpose in life. The study also found greater satisfaction in life was related more closely to social conservatives rather than economically conservative views. Research also shows that values are likely matter more for conservatives than personality when it comes to vote. One research shows that Trump supporters were more likely to connect with his overall personality because of his policies rather than looking at his personality, when for liberals, a personality matters the most. Also, one British study found that those kids who were aggressive in the age about 5 or 7 years old, they become more liberal leaning when they are in their mid-age. I would say both sides are often guilty of judging the group by their worst members. I get frustrated when some of my friends on the left say every Trump supporter is racist, homophobic, etc. And then I see my friends on the right saying that every liberal wants everything for free, wants to invite ISIS to run the country, etc. I really want to believe that most of us want the same thing. We just disagree on how to get there. I hope it was entertaining for you and fun, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.